Happening in the ports in the country. Don't forget, it was only last week we had the Customs Service talk about the closure or the seeming ban of cars coming through the land borders, and some other questions we did pose to him concerning the Ports Authority. Joining us this morning to look at the port sector reforms, plus many others, is Hadiza Usman. She's the Managing Director of the Nigeria Ports Authority. Good to have you join us this morning.
Yeah, good to be here.
A whole lot is happening, and I think many Nigerians will be excited having you here because they have so many questions to ask of you, and they need answers to many of them. But before we get into all this, looking at the the topic today, port sector reforms, I can recall that the concessioning of the airports has been there for some years now. Is it up to 10 years or so?
Yes, it is. The ports were concessioned 10 years ago.
10 years ago?
Yes.
That's pretty long a time. So perhaps you should tell us what you've been able to find out 10 years down the line, if it's been successful so far.
Yes, the concessions have indeed been successful. We're 10 years into the concession agreements with the terminal operators. We believe that there's a need to review the concession agreements. Within the concession agreements, there's stipulated timeline for review. We're required to review the concession agreements every 2 years, but for some reason we've not done that review. And this is indeed a very appropriate time to do the review. We've started the procedure of reviewing the respective agreements that we have across our terminals. The terminal operators themselves are keen to have a review because there are areas that we believe that are critical to relook at 10 years post-concession.
Now, while we talk about that, let's quickly put what some of those into businesses around the ports have been saying concerning the ports and the ease of doing business around the ports, which they say has given some kind of business to other smaller African countries, like even in Benin Republic. They still think it's more friendlier and more, lucrative to do business outside Nigerian ports, and they have highlighted so many of the anomalies or so many of the bottlenecks in the ports in Lagos and even in Rivers State. We'll talk about the usage of some of these ports. Let's talk about their complaints, which I'm quite sure you're not new to.
Yes, one of the issues we have within our ports are to do with our competitiveness in terms of tariff, in terms of pricing. We're looking to see how we can look at the respective tariffs across ports in the West African coast and in Africa indeed, to see how competitive our ports are. Have instituted a review. It's interesting for us to know that the ports in Western and Central Africa are not keen to have their tariffs made public. I think these are one of the things we need to do as agencies of government. We need to enshrine transparency. We have started by having our tariffs put on our website. We've done that last week Friday. This is the first time Nigerian Ports Authority is putting all our respective tariffs for the Nigerian public to see, and indeed for the world to see. We're also going to the next step of publishing them in the newspapers so that you're aware of every tariff and anything that the Nigerian Ports Authority is charging. It's important for us to have that transparency, and in doing that we would assess what is obtainable in the respective ports and see how competitive we are. To the extent that we determine the Nigerian ports are not financially competitive, then we would seek federal government to approve a review and a possible reduction to ensure that we are as competitive in pricing as we are. The second leg to our challenge is to do with our operational competitiveness. How efficient are our ports? How easy is it for an entity to come into our ports, clear your goods and get out of our ports within a timely manner? There are agencies of government that interface with us, and we're working with them to ensure that we improve on these operational efficiencies. One of the things that we're putting in place is the National Single Windows Project. The NPA is working a ports community system whereby all our operations are domiciled in one platform. We're working to do an interface with Nigerian Customs Service and every other government agency that operates in the ports, whereby you have ease of operations in the port. If you come in, you're making a payment, you go into one platform, you institute your payment, you get the respective agents and click on that and you pay and get out of the ports.
You've been around for over a year now, and you should be able to tell us what exactly, because you talk about the Interagency Cooperation, which is one of the key things we asked the Customs Service, asking some of these things why they've been shrouded in some kind of secrecy. You don't get to know why, and you're paying such amount, and you don't even get to know the amount that you're supposed to pay for some services. And one wonders why some of these are not on the website of the Customs Service. And now you said the Ports Authority, they just had this on their website. Was it just last week Friday?
Yes, last week Friday.
And let's look at, collaboration with other agencies of government, which definitely will amount to ease of doing business around the ports. So single-handedly, I think the NPA can't on their own do this. So what form of discussions are you having with the Customs Service and other key players around the ports? We're talking about agency of government.
Yes, I've been in office for 5 months actually, not 1 year. And one of the things that we're looking to ensure collaboration is there's a presidential...
No, it's 100 days, a little bit over 100 days in office.
You said 1 year.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, we're 5 months. And there's an excellent initiative being led by the Vice President. It's the Presidential Initiative on Ease of Doing Business. They've put all of us together to work on ease of doing business, of coming into the country and out of the country. So we're sitting on a weekly basis to articulate what is required on all our agencies of government. With the Nigerian Customs Service, discussions are ongoing on operational efficiencies. We've submitted our framework on how the NPA is going to implement its national single windows project. For us, Nigeria is key, it's a national interest, it's beyond every agency of government. It's important for all of us to align and deliver for the federal government. It's not for us to individually hold our little corners and say that we must implement in a certain manner. We've held those meetings. We're having another meeting on Friday to see that we facilitate that. One of the things that the Nigerian Ports Authority is concerned about is the amount of export going out of Nigeria. A lot of the vessels that come, the containers go 10% full. So we are working on a standard operations procedure for improvement and priority consideration for agri-produce. We're almost concluding on that, which we're presenting to the Minister of Agri, so that agri-produce have priority consideration for export. And indeed, as you mentioned, the respective agencies of government need to understand the priority consideration of working hand in hand together. We're having seamless synergy with Nigerian Customs, and I believe within the shortest period, as this committee that is being led by the Vice President, we would have full synergy in ensuring that the national single windows is actually sees the light of day beyond just rhetorics, beyond just sound bites, but implementing it with the required IT infrastructure. The Ports Authority has been adjourned to be the agency of government within the ports that has the highest deployment of IT infrastructure. We have the IT infrastructure that will enable us host the single windows project. But what matters is for all the agencies to know that this single windows project is for the country. Nigeria cannot remain without that within 2017. So we are keen to do that. We have committed and deployed all necessary infrastructure and commitment towards ensuring that operational efficiency.
Okay, Hadiza Usman, laudable ideas that you brought on board, and for one, you've not been, how do I put it down? Okay, you've just been introduced into the system.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been there 5 months.
Yeah.
How do you think these ideas will be bought by the system? Because there are those who will say there is a system in place.
Yes.
They'll say always look at this. The system is what's making things not work.
Yeah.
How are you going about ensuring that those on ground that have been there for years buy into these ideas?
We have different categories of system by the agency, meaning the staff in the authority are keen to drive this because they themselves understand that for so long as the Nigerian Ports Authority does not catch up, for so long as our ports are not seen to be competitive, we're going to lose traffic. And we indeed have been losing traffic to other ports. So to enable them and to enable us secure our jobs, to enable us function efficiently and effectively in the African continent, we need to up our game and find ourselves financially and pricingly competitive and also operationally competitive.